So hi guys, my name is Iman. It's really nice to meet all of you, and we're really glad to have you guys participate in this awesome session. This was definitely a popular one, considering it's women empowerment, something that's really important. And we have amazing speakers lined up for you guys, and I think it's going to be a great discussion. In terms of logistics, as you can see at the top of your screen, you're on Zoom. So at the bottom, you'll see there are multiple tabs. The chat feature is for more general comments. If anything you hear is relatable, feel free to type an experience in there because we want you guys to engage. If you have any questions that arise during the session, there's a Q&A chat box at the bottom that's specifically for questions. And if we will be dedicating 15 minutes at the end to those questions. So feel free to, as we go, answer those or ask those questions, and we'll be answering them as we go or at the end, depending on how they correspond to our topic. But without a further ado, I'll introduce Global Youth for UNICEF, and then I'll go ahead and hand the mic off to our speakers. Global Youth for UNICEF is an international network of high school and college students who want to fight with UNICEF for advocating children's rights. And we're a great group. We have over 30 countries represented as of today in our group. So all the links for joining or signing up are going to be in the chat box. So feel free to check that out whenever you can. And without that, I guess we can go ahead and get started. We have amazing speakers lined up, and I'll have them all introduce themselves. As you can see, we're doing something a little different this time. We have more than one speaker. But I think it's still going to be a great conversation, and to hear such amazing and powerful women from so many backgrounds is just going to be an awesome experience and a great learning opportunity. So Ms. Rehmah, do you want to get us started and we can just go down?
Hi, good evening, good morning to some of you. Good evening to me. I'm in Kampala, Uganda, and great to be here. My name is Rehmah Kasule. I'm the founder and president of CEDA International in Uganda, a nonprofit organization that works with girls empowerment, girls education, women's empowerment, workforce development. And I'm currently a senior fellow at Harvard. I'm doing the Advanced Leadership Initiative.
Wonderful. Dr. Brooks, do you want to introduce yourself? I think you're on mute. Don't worry.
I'm Professor Brooks. I teach at Dartmouth College, and we've had both of these speakers through to Dartmouth. They have a lot of deep relationships at Dartmouth. They've spoken to our students and are just so incredibly inspirational on global gender issues. I've learned so much from them. I also run a global menstrual hygiene website that helps to showcase the expertise of women around the world who are entrepreneurs and help them share information with others. We're not really the content experts, they are. And so that's how I got to know Jamila, and I got to visit her country and learn about her work there. And Rehmah was just at Dartmouth, it seems like yesterday, but also in the, a whole era ago. So anyway, I'm delighted to see both of them here.
Awesome. And Ms. Mayanja, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning and good evening to others who are in our country. Sorry, I'm stuck in traffic, but I couldn't miss this at anything I had to be on. My name is Jamila Mayanja. I am the founder and team leader of Smart Girls Foundation Uganda, an organization that I founded and started to empower and mentor young women and girls to live a healthy and economically sustainable lifestyle, so that they can also change their communities and give back to their communities. I'm also a Mandela Washington Fellow who went to Dartmouth, and very proud to be one. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. So the way we're going to do this is a little different than the other sessions. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a step back, and Dr. Brooks will be, I think the experts definitely should be speaking on this topic. And so I'll be asking the first two introductory questions to all the amazing speakers. And then afterwards, Dr. Brooks will be facilitating the conversation, just because I think you guys will definitely learn so much more from the experts. And I will also get to learn a lot more as well. So without further ado, I'll start with the first question. So we took a lot of your guys' questions that you sent before the session started and tried to create interview questions that encompass those topics. So the first question that I have is that speaking of careers, you are all amazing women involved in diverse careers and are doing such impactful work. I think it's really important that in a lot of these industries, a lot of girls have actually talked to us and said that, there's so many male dominated industries, for example, taking STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Um, it can be really difficult for young girls to really feel empowered in these positions that are usually dominated by males. So, what advice, I guess, would you give to girls who are, I guess, in this situation and are interested in going into careers that are typically male dominated? And any of you guys can unmute yourselves and speak, but the floor is open to you guys.
Yeah, for me, I'll start. Personally, I tell people, I proudly say that I was born a village girl, but I refused to become a village woman. And that's the attitude every girl should have in life. Your background doesn't determine your destiny. You have the power to design the future you want. And the minute you understand that, it's not about your background, it's not about your gender, it's about who you are and what you want to become in life. Because if you know who you are, then you can actually become what you want in life, because you know your passions, you know your character, you know your strength. But that's easier said than done. We've seen girls in countries like, especially in the Arab world, they do STEM subjects. They are the mostly educated people in the countries, but they can't have access to the jobs that they would want just because of the stereotypes and everyone around us who says you can't do this, the gender assigned roles. But for me personally, I will speak about myself and how I did it. At 26 years, I started my own business. I quit a job. I started a business, which was a branding and marketing firm, because I realized I can't be what people say I should be. There's some fire inside me. I had no money. I had no networks. I had very little work experience, but I had the passion in me and the fire to say, I'm going to do it no matter what. It was the first advertising agency in East Africa, and I grew it for 10 years, and it grew so big. I made a lot of money when I was still so young. So it's not about your gender, it's who you decide to be and believing in yourself.
Thank you to Rehmah. That's Rehmah is one of my role models. I have to say I'm honored to be part of her panel. So, but anyway, I do not know if I've told when Professor Brooks came to see me, if I've told her this story. Um, I have a program called the Girls with Tools, where I train girls to take up male-dominated careers, and I train them in mechanics, welding, carpentry, electricity installation. Now I'm adding washing-based skills. But why I did that, because of the prior program that I had, and I was trying to get girls to do hand washing while I give them business. But I was very bothered at how, when I would make them save money, and then they would start the same businesses. I was so bothered how the girls this side in the village, when I told them what business you want to do, they thought of saloon, they thought of market stalls, they thought of, like, the typical gender biased jobs that the society thinks they should do. Yeah. And why I did the program, it's because of a particular cartoon that I was watching. I'm sorry to tell you about this, but it was an animation called Zootopia. And I was fascinated at how this small bunny wanted to become a policewoman. But because exactly what Rehmah has said, it's all about believing in yourself. I keep on, parents of these girls come to me and tell me, why are you encouraging girls to hold tools? Why are you taking them to electricity engineering? Why are you taking them to mechanical engineering? I'm like, they have hands, they have legs, they have brains. What a boy can do, a girl can do. So girls should believe that if your brain can speak, it can speak louder than the men. If your hands can handle those tools, they can handle it also. That you can handle it too. And the main point is, nowadays technology changed. You do not have to have the energy to carry that machine. There is technology to help you carry that machine. So you just have to believe in yourself, what you can do. You have to be like that bunny in Zootopia. Believe in yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Brooks, your take.
Um, so can I ask a question for people to answer in chat? Is that okay? Like,
Yeah,
is that a problem?
absolutely.
So I'd like to ask the listeners which country they're from and whether they're from a rural or urban area. So can everybody weigh in with country and rural or urban?
Just use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen, guys, and type it in.
Because I asked that, and I'll keep talking while people are answering there. You know, oh wow, you've got a great multinational group here. I always have to clarify for American students what being a village girl means or what being a village woman means, and of course it varies from village to village and everything else. And so it seems like maybe you've got a lot of students here who kind of get that sense. I guess can I turn to Jamila and say, what made you think big? You know, we heard a little bit from Rehmah that, you know, how she kind of envisioned bigger things for herself. Can you talk, is it okay to step in at this point and ask Jamila to talk a little bit about her journey and how did she think in a bigger way than so many girls get to in Uganda?
My thinking big started from school. When I was in primary, I was bullied so much because I've always been bigger than my peers. I grew my breasts faster. I started my periods in P4. That I was 9 years old. So I was bullied so much. But when I reached in my secondary, it was an all-girls school, Nabisunsa. It was like a safe space for me. And when I went in Nabisunsa, that safe space blossomed me. And that's why in all the activities that I do with the girls, I make sure they have a safe space. Because for me at that time, it was what I needed to bring out my self-esteem. In Abisunsa, I would literally get out of the dormitory and greet everybody on my way. Like I was literally like waving. So that grew my self-esteem. So for me, dreaming big, that's why I tell girls every day, when you discover your self-worth, your self-confidence, because that's what kickstarted me. In every situation now I remember that time, the first day I walked through the gates of Nabisunsa and I felt safe. So I feel nothing can stop me in any single way. So when I was in Nabisunsa, I started listening to girls, their problems, and I told them how I built my self-esteem and it helped them. So it has helped the self-esteem I grew myself gave me a room to help other girls. That's why I've been able to uniquely develop programs and interventions that have helped girls reach their potential because I helped myself reach my own potential after going through so much bullying. So for me, it's literally that. I grew my self-esteem and because I was in a safe space.
I see. Great, thank you. Nick, can I turn to Rehmah at this point and say, you know, in your initial introduction, it sounded like you believed in yourself and you made it happen and maybe it was pretty easy. And I know I've heard enough of your story to know that you faced some challenges in building what I believe ended up being Uganda's biggest advertising agency. And then as a woman to boot. So do you want to flesh that out a little bit? Because I know it wasn't an easy road to success for you.
No, definitely. It wasn't an easy road for me at all. But for me, this is my belief that every failure is a learning opportunity. And so for me, I think from a young age, I always dreamt big. But being in a rural, small community, which has a lot of patriarchal society, very strong Muslim culture and religion, and I couldn't dream anymore. You don't have a voice. You're not supposed to speak up. And I saw my mother, who was married at 16 years. I saw how she struggled when my father died. My father died when I was 8 years. And I saw her transform her life from being a stay-home mom to looking after us and taking us through school. And so from a young age, I knew there's a possibility to grow and become bigger. But almost to like Jamila's story, just briefly. So in my village, or where I was born, there was no primary school. There was no kindergarten. So at 5 years, I had to walk 3 miles to go to school. And I remember I was really like, my classmates were like 7 and 8 years, and I was only 5. And so I built resilience, and I built who I am today because I knew I needed to have the education. And then when I went to Navisunsa so many years before Jamila. I didn't know any English. I couldn't speak any English because I was coming from a rural school. And for me, that's when I realized that I either drop out of school or step out and really get the confidence. And I got a girl who taught me English every after school. So really for me, it was about being truthful to myself, to say, this is who I am. And if you hear my voice, it's a deep voice, and I was in a girls' school. So they used to bully me for having a big voice. They used to bully me for being very tiny and short, you know. But inside me, I knew I had something inside me. But being truthful to myself, for me, for every girl, wherever you are, if you're listening or watching, that's the number one. Being truthful to yourself of who you are and your circumstances, and not wanting to be like someone else. It's good to aspire, but first be comfortable with who you are before you can aspire. So the struggle was really, it's been a struggle.
Can can you each talk about, so I see a lot of questions that were submitted that are about gender empowerment in a broad way, and yet I know that your individual stories illustrate those ideas so powerfully. Can you each just describe one roadblock you hit early on in your career that may have had something to do with gender or discrimination or something like, or not, just some roadblock that you hit that you had to get past in order to do the work and live your dreams that you had envisioned, and kind of how you did that? Can you think of one example like that that might inspire these people on this call early on in their careers or college careers even?
I have one. So in the program that I've been telling you about, the Girls with Tools, so I'm a Muslim, first of all, who is telling young ladies to come and be mechanics, to become electricians, to become welders. And in Uganda, typically those are jobs for men. And for a Muslim community, a Muslim has to be, a Muslim woman has to be in the kitchen, has to be cooking, or her husband has to get her a shop. So when I started mobilizing the girls to come and do this work, I was attacked by most of the husbands, the brothers of mostly that Muslim girls, that I was taking them in an indecent industry. I getting them to do the STEM career sets and skill sets were indecent. It was quite a rough time, that some of them attacked some of my teachers, attacked my facilitators, they discouraged the girls. But then later on, I noticed it's very important to involve them in the journey of getting the girls empowered. So whenever we are doing the program, we have time, we call it the Good Men Project, we have time to engage the men in their lives. Let them be their husbands, let them be their brothers, their fathers, to let them understand why it's important to empower girls in STEM careers. And for these particular ones that I'm training, because the industry is raw, so they can easily pull enough money to them, so they saw the benefit of having them financially stable, and but mostly making like the uniqueness and the beauty of the girls taking up these career sets. So when I engaged them finally, it was a success. So the girls were able to settle and do the works much more. Yeah, I think that's it.
I hear over and over involving the men is important to bring them in as partners for gender progress. Rehmah, do you have anything that you want to add? I know you have lots.
Yeah, still for me, for everything, if the girls want to learn from me, for everything, I use a quote for them to get it. So for me, I always say that every stumbling block should be a stepping stone for you to step on, but also use the stones to build a wall around you. And I'll tell you what I did. Why I quit my job at 26 years, it was because at the workplace, there was a lot of sexual harassment. And from a young age, I was young. I could have given in like all the young ladies I saw doing that. But I decided this is not for me. So to the young girls who are out there, never, ever, and I say this again, never, ever use your gender to progress in your profession. Never, ever use your body. And I saw that over and over. That was when I was employed, but also when I got to run my own business, you could get a call, you know, like branding and marketing has a lot of money and the branding managers have the budgets. And you could get a call and they're like, yeah, we need to go for coffee. And the coffee turns into a conversation. You think you all come dressed up to think it's a business meeting, and it turns out into a personal meeting. They want to hit on you. But for me, I had to have boundaries, which are so strong, and I call them non-negotiables, things I don't negotiate about. If you want to meet in a bar, I'm a Muslim, I'll say, no, I don't come to the bar. I know so many people will say, you know what, let me fit in. For me, I decided from a young age, I don't have to fit in to be part of the conversation. I know I bring something to the table. So equip yourself, learn new skills, be really smart enough for people to take you by who you are without coming where you feel like you have to use your gender. Go everywhere based on your merit. So really, that was so many years ago. To this day, sexual harassment is a big issue. And for many women, they either decide to leave their careers and leave their job, or you give in, or you refuse and get demoted all the time. So really, but the choice is yours. But for me, I'll tell you, that's something that every time I used to feel like, you know, I used to feel like hitting people to say, you know, don't ask me to do that. You know, I'm much more than that. It's not about my personal appearance and me being a woman. You're not doing for me a favor. You know, ask me to join your club because you think I'm bringing something to the table.
I'm going to have you add on to that story, because I remember an important piece of it, if I recall correctly, was that you stood up to that at 26 years old and left a job that was secure, right, to do something very risky that ended up being a very valuable, important change for you. Am I characterizing that correctly? Do you want to flesh that out? Because
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, still going back to speaking up. That time, being young, I was timid. I didn't have the confidence I have today. I didn't have any networks. I didn't have any money. And I just decided, you know what, whatever this man is telling me, I don't agree with it. And I had to speak out. And I told my supervisor, and my supervisor sort of pushed it aside. I went to my, you know, like the managing director, and she was a woman. That was the most disappointing thing. And everyone said I was lying, you know. And so I got a whole backlash because other women were doing it. So for me to speak out, it was like I was making them look bad. So I had to make a decision to leave a job which was secure. That agency is an international agency based in the US. It was, even now, it's one of the biggest advertising agencies in the world. But I had to leave that agency to start my small business in one room, you know, because I decided, you know what, that's not who I am. And guess what? If you start it at whatever age, you can't stop it.
So I take three big takeaways from that I want this group of amazing global high school leaders to think about. One is standing up. Sometimes, you know, even if there's risk involved, it's not always working out for the best, but it often does. Like being yourself often pays off rather than costs, at least in the long run, but it can be scary. Second of all, I hear you say women need to support other women, and that that women and all the research, and this is something I am an expert in, a lot of the research shows that women can be as sexist as men when they have power, and that we have, you know, that there are these tendencies and that you have to consciously push against as you get power and rise up and can help other women. So I take that away from that story. And third, as a political scientist, I just want to say, like, change policy and create policies that protect women in the workplace. Of course, empower them, allow them to go to school, all those kinds of things, you know, get jobs that matter to them, have access to training, but also try to change policies that protect women against sexual harassment and provide legal recourse. But still, it takes bravery to deal with those situations, and I'm sorry that anybody ever has to face them. You know, we're talking kind of indirectly about your projects. I think this would be a great opportunity for you folks to talk about, you know, one or two of your favorite projects. You know, what is bringing passion to your life and work right now? Maybe go to Jamila. I know you talked about women who, the girls with tools, right? And, or maybe I'm getting the term wrong, you can clarify, but you took me to the site. It was incredible. These girls and young women were so empowered to show off their skills, and it was so exciting to see. You want to talk about that one, and anything else you want to kind of bring in?
So,
I think
and Deb, if you come to see it now, it's amazing. Can you hear me now? When you see it now, it's amazing. The girls are finally opening an all-ladies garage and washing bay, and so it's a program that I started. I told you, and it was inspired by the about girls believing themselves when it comes to STEM. We should fight the gender norms and that come to that girls cannot do STEM career sets, mostly the non-traditional skills. Girls look at them disgusting, dirty. I can't be a mechanic, I can't be an electrician, it's dirty, but yet she's passionate about it. So I started this program to train girls between the ages of 15 to 35 in career sets of mechanics, welding, carpentry, and electricity installation. Ever since we started in 2017, we've been able to graduate 200 girls. And this year we've enrolled over 100 girls and launching an all-ladies garage that is opening this month. And now we are adding on washing-based skill sets. And we are also going to start creating them their own workshops. So that is one of our biggest so much in school. Am I off? Sorry. Am I back?
you're back. You're back.
Sorry, internet.
Okay. I think we should probably turn to Rehmah right now. Let's
in S4. Yes. Is it okay?
No, I think we're going to turn to Rehmah right now, and then we'll come back to you once you're through that area of Kampala's infamous traffic. We'll come back and have you talk about your other projects. Okay, Rehmah.
Yeah, so for me, I'll speak about the Rising Stars Mentoring Program. So I started 2009, man, it feels like yesterday. 2009, I was blessed to attend the Fortune US State Department mentoring program, which I did in Washington, DC and in New York. And this is a program where you are matched with a Fortune 500 CEO. And I was matched with Barbara Gustin at AXA Equitable in New York. And that experience just broadened my vision and who I am. And it's that time, by that time I was still running my branding and marketing business. So 2007, I shifted from building brands to shifting mindsets by starting my nonprofit organization, which is called CEDA International. But as part of CEDA International, I started a program called Rising Stars Mentoring Program. Because after the mentorship, I realized that that's something that I didn't have in my life, someone to mentor me, a group of women to network with, to share with, to bounce off ideas. And so this program was launched in 2009 by the American ambassador to Uganda, Jerry Lenia, and we worked with secondary school girls. Today, we have over 38,000 girls who have graduated from my program. What we do is really teach them about self-esteem, having a voice, self-efficacy, livelihood projects, even from that young age, from 14 to 18 years. These are secondary school girls. And so I'll share briefly about the tool we use. It's called a 5D cycle. So it starts from discovering who you are, your passions, your character, your strength. And once you discover yourself, we take them through dreaming. And in dreaming, we ask them to dream big. You know, it's not like you're in Kampala and dreaming about the next city. Dream as big as possible. But once they dream, we take them through now design. Design is where they do action plans and goal setting and really go in details. Don't just say, I want to be a doctor. What kind of doctor? Where are you going to be working? What will you need? And then the fourth D is develop. Develop is where we develop their skills, character, and habits. And in terms of skills, the skills are so diverse, from communication, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and then the last D is destiny. But the interesting thing about our model, we ask them to think about the destiny now. So they begin with the end in mind. Because many times we've seen girls and young people where you invest so much in something, but then you don't know the end. And then you realize, oh my God, I studied this, or this was my major, but probably that's not your passion. Or you didn't think about the role models in that profession to say, you know, many people say, I want to become a banker, but what does it take to become a banker? What kind of jobs do they do? So we give the young girls an opportunity to think about their destiny now. But I'll share with you one story of Sandra Batakana. When I met Sandra in 2011, she was in rural Iganga, which is a very small village in Uganda. And she had dropped out of school. We took her back to school, inspired her, and about dreaming big. I always told them my story, and they get inspired about my story because they see themselves in my story. But what was interesting about Sandra, one of the things I teach young girls is to say, when you dream, you achieve, and no dream is too big. And that's when Sandra realized Iganga was very small for her. She transferred to Nabisunza, which is a city school, which we went to. Won a math contest. She was the best in the country. She got a scholarship, went to UK, did pre-medicine, went to Duke University, did medicine. Today, Sandra works for Bank of America in New York. But one of the things I want to say proudly, our girls, we teach them to pay it forward. So today, Sandra has her own nonprofit. Sandra is only 25 years, for your information. She runs her nonprofit organization in Iganga, where she was born. Today, she's taught over 86 women, young women, some of who were her classmates but dropped out of school. She's taught them to be entrepreneurs. So for me, one of the things I've seen is quality education breaks intergenerational cycles of poverty. Today, Sandra's sisters have all gone through school. 2 of them are in US, 1 is in Canada. She's transferred her mom from Uganda. She lives in Canada. So she's broken the intergenerational cycles of poverty just because she dreamt big and believed in herself. So really, that's what I wanted to leave with the girls. Really, we need to pay it forward. Don't just think about yourself. What about other women? For me, I always say, if I've seen father, is by standing on shoulders of giants. So think about a giant you want to aspire and stand on their shoulders, but also think about pulling another girl as you go high, lift another girl. And before we know it, we shall have many more girls and women empowered. Thank you.
Dr. Brooks, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Believe it or not, I'm starting to teach remote classes in a week, so we'll see how that goes. Jamila, do we have you back? Can you hear? Did you want to? We lost you
Yes,
for
sorry.
the last part of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there
I've
anything else?
now packed. I'm not going anywhere else until I'm done with this exciting thing. So, I wanted to share with you, as I've told you about the Girls with Tools. So the Girls with Tools has been amazing. The girls who've graduated, we have girls who have started electricity. One who has started a company. It's a huge company, and it's being certified by UTLC here in Uganda, and she calls it now Quick Smart to give back to smart girls. And she's also hiring and giving back to over 30 girls, and those are her workers. So you can imagine a girl who dropped out of S4 and now owns a big electricity installation company, and she calls herself Ladies in Electricity Engineering. We have girls who have the girls we've trained have launched another company, and they're calling it they're calling themselves Women in Construction. These are women who are school dropouts. They're getting out of sex work, and they're survivors of gender-based violence, and they've come together with the skills they've gained from us, and they're starting a massive campaigns to empower more women in construction. And these are women they thought, because they didn't finish school, these are really hard skill sets that they couldn't learn. Because most people believe all the STEM careers you have to learn them from school, but there are those also very hands-on. The other program I was telling you about is the Smart Bags for Girls that I started after my history of being bullied in school. I started my periods when I was really young, menstrual periods, and I stained my dress when I was in P5. And whenever I would walk around school, I was labeled the red label. So, and yet I was from a very rich family. I had access to pads, but it was a stigma to talk about menstrual hygiene. So I started the smart bags for girls. It's an innovation I came up with. Um, I call it smart because it helps the use of reusable pads in rural areas. We have been making pads and I've been giving them out, but I noticed girls were still not staying in school. And the fact was, because by the time they couldn't afford a reusable pad, they couldn't afford as simple as a cavera or something to carry in that pad. So I developed that bag where it has a component, a department where they could carry their unused reusable pads, and then a department, if they go to school and they didn't have wash facilities, they could put that used reusable pad so that they could get back home and wash their reusable pads. But the beauty is, while I've implemented last year, we're able to reach 6,000 girls in the eastern and the central. We decided now to make it more even smart. We are making it out of we're recycling plastic and making it waterproof and adding solar to it. So it is a recycled solar smart bag. And within it, we put a pack of usable pads. We also teach them on how to make their own. We put a calendar to track their periods. But the solar is also help them light themselves to get back home, but mostly to also make it smart, as the word says. And we are also adding later on a motherboard that is like a calculator, I would say, so that they can be able to calculate their menstrual days without having to write them, so that it's a really smart way. But all my innovations come with my passion. I started also marketing, and I love to market, but I'm a very creative. I like to try out things. I like to innovate things so that I could help fellow girls. Because as Rehmah said, education for a girl is everything. When you educate a girl, we all know that you're educating the nation. When a woman is educated, she'll make sure all her kids are educated. So all my programs, we try so much to reach every particular girl. The one who's in the village and can't have access to education, let her stay in school. The one who is in the urban and wants access to skills, let them come and have skills. We have girls who are doing law and they still come to our center to learn about how to become mechanics, how to become welders. So it's really the adventure of working with your hands and discovering the cool things you can do with STEM. Yeah, thank you. And all the ladies, please do stop create. Like, it's amazing to create with your hands. It should be a tailoring machine. It can be anything. Just create. Can be art. We as women are so creative, and when they bring out a product, it's always different. It's amazing what we women and girls can create. It's amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
and the bags are super cute. Like, I mean, because Jamila is super stylish, and these are very cute bags. And actually, that's part of it, right? The girls get them, and they feel excited about them, and they feel proud of something that might otherwise have stigma. And I'll say, Jamila and her partner, Lucy Apiano, of EcoPads, who's also got a Dartmouth connection, took me to one of the training sessions that they had in a village, where I got to see the pads distributed and the incredibly creative training session that went around it, and just bringing that education to a community and speaking about it out in the open helps to destigmatize menstrual issues and education around it. So it's just really powerful to see all of that in action and making it fun instead of, you know, something that just, you know, has to be kept in the background is, I think, a big part of it and why it's successful. How do you think we should proceed at this point? What do you think? I mean, I can keep going with questions, but I also see some questions here from people. Let's see. There was one I thought. Well, there are a few questions that pertain to. It seems like maybe girls that in their own communities feel not necessarily supported by family members or friends, people in their communities, in terms of dreaming big. Is there anything you might want to say to those girls about how to take that challenge on when you are dreaming big, but you don't feel like you have support for it at home?
Yeah, I think for me, everything, and I'll go back to that over and over and over, is believing in yourself, having the right network of people around you. And that network can be men, it can be girls, it can be boys. It doesn't have to be a network of just girls, because unless we communicate to men and boys, even our brothers, they will never understand and support us. So really having a good network, in business, we say your networks, create your network. But also at this age, you need a network of people who think like you, who can celebrate your achievements, but also who are going to really challenge you to say, hey, you know, you need to be, you know, you need to focus on this. So really your networks will be important, because they say the 5 people around you, the way they live, the way they act is how you act. And this network doesn't have to be physical. It can be online. Right now it's virtual. You can have a network of people around the world who you bounce off ideas with. For me, lastly, for the girls and for all of us, I call them dream takers. Don't have dream takers around you. You know what dream takers do? They are so toxic. The minute you say, I'm going to do this, they're going to say, no, it will never happen. You can't do it. You're too small. You're not qualified enough. You're not, you know, you're just a woman. You're too young. So you need to get rid of all the dream takers from your life. And it doesn't matter. They may be even family members. Sometimes they mean good to discourage you from doing something, but you really need to get rid of them, because once you have them, once you have an idea, they'll give you 10 reasons why it can't happen. And before you know it, because you already have this internal fear, you'll be like, yeah, I knew it wouldn't happen. It won't work. So get rid of them, but also you need to get rid of the inner fear to say, you know what, I can't do it, I'm going to do it. And I'll show you what I do every morning. I do self-affirmation. So for the girls, you really need to see this. So every day when I wake up, I ask myself, who am I? And I look in the mirror and I ask myself, who am I? And I say, I'm a star. Who am I? I'm a champion. Who am I? I'm a leader. Who am I? I'm intelligent. Who am I? I'm a beautiful African Muslim woman. And once I affirm myself in the morning, no one can beat me down. You know, once they do something to me, I'll remind myself, I'm a star. Oh, I'm a leader. I can't do that. I can't argue with them. When they go down, I go up. You know, I can't come at their level. So that's self-affirmation, and that's mine. You need to create your own where you really reaffirm yourself every day, because the world will beat you down so many times you feel like, you know what, I can't do this. But guess what? We need more voices of women. We need young people having the right voice to say, you know what, let's do this. Because we can't talk about gender empowerment and closing the gender parity and all that if we have very few voices. We need to amplify the voices of women who are not just talking about these things, not just advocating, but really women who are empowering other women, but also empowering themselves, so that we have collective voices to shift the needle. Thank you.
And Jamila, did you have anything to say to girls who don't feel supported by those around them? And you can't always just get rid of the dream takers if they're in your family, but you may not listen to them that much, which is how I managed to succeed in my life. Okay, so Jamila.
This is really a personal story. Like, when I quit my job to do this work, I was literally almost the breadwinner, because when my dad died in my first year at campus, I had already started working, and I'm 4 years down, 5 years down the road. I quit my job to try and give back, and my mom asked me a question: how can you quit your job to try and go and empower women? It doesn't make sense to empower girls. How are you going to make money? How are you going to help us anymore? You're now giving money. But I have this title, Givers Gain. When you give, you gain. Like, it's just natural. When you give, when you empower and mentor someone back, when you're down, that energy is going to come back to you. And I learned, like Rehmah said, what she does in the mirror. For me, I always, even when I post a picture, I will tell myself, oh my God, I'm so amazing. I can't help myself. When I affirm myself, when I tell myself, before you put me down, you can't put me down. Because already I tell it to myself every day, I am amazing, and I'm a force to make other women and girls amazing. Like, that's my title. I'll give, and I know I'll gain back. Your network is your net worth in every single aspect. Yeah, connect as ladies and girls. Connect yourself to people who have the same passion and zeal like you. Because when in my family everybody could understand the work that I was doing, I went out and discovered the people who understood the passion for me to give back, the passion for me to have another girl be more amazing than I am. Trust me, in the community, that in the whole world, there will be that group of community that feel your passion, that feel who you want to be. There's another person like you who's hungry like you, who is going through the same things you're going through. So you talk to them. They do not have to be your family. And later on, your family will appreciate. Right now, my family loves the work that I do. All of them want to work with me, but that was like 10 years later. And it has taken a step at a time. They've seen my happiness has been to giving back, making other women and girls happy and seeing them grow. So my giving has eventually given me back by showing my family that this is who I am, this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to let anyone do it for me but myself. So love it, like, and be hungry for it. When someone sees you're hungry for your empowerment, for your self-esteem, for your self-worth, for your self-affirmation, they'll have no choice but to appreciate who you are. Thank you.
I think as a high school student, this whole build your network idea might feel kind of intimidating. But I am hearing between the two of you talking a lot about your dreams and not even listening when people, say something negative about it, but keep talking about it so that 1 in 10 people or 1 in 100 people who does have a shared vision, like, you connect, and you can't do that unless you're talking to them. One other tip I might have for you is, and I'm taking this also from Rehmah was saying, is to go to the people in the jobs you want or that inspire you in some way. Tell them you're inspired by them, you're interested in following their path, potentially, and ask them what their day-to-day life is. Ask them if you can shadow them at work one day. You know, I don't know that in your own communities and cultures, there'll be different ways to do that. But even as a high school student, if you're talking about this stuff a lot, you will find people to connect with. And of course, the suggestion to look online is so important to that too. Somebody had a question over here about, oh, some of the questions are gone at this point.
You might want to go to the answered section. There's some questions over there. So you can click.
Oh, I see. Oh, when they get answered. Okay, I'm learning. Okay, yeah, I thought this question is hard. I think spending a little bit more time on it might be worthwhile. Is this okay to go to? How can young women and teenagers fight for gender equity when they don't have big platforms to do so? I think that's a really interesting question. Is it a matter of, do you two think it's a matter of just preparing yourself to eventually make a difference? I will say, you know, as a professor at an Ivy League institution, I see a few too many people coming up with grand plans to parachute into another country and with some plan to do something, whether it's distribute pads or whatever, without sufficient knowledge or of that community and culture to actually make a positive difference, and potentially causes a lot of problems along the way. I'm a little skeptical of that. You don't, sometimes creating your own plan is a problem, not a benefit. How do you think, as a high school student with big ambitions but no platform, what do you two think they should be working on at this point?
I think everyone has a platform.
Okay.
And a platform doesn't have to, and for me, I always want to demystify the word leadership. So leadership is not a position, and you don't have to have a title or an office. So I'm equating leadership to platform. So even if you're in a high school, there's something going on within your community where you need to speak up. Whether it's girls who are mistreated, whether it's the teachers who are not gender sensitive, whether it's your friends who are bullying others because of their weight or height or color or race or religion. So to all of us, it doesn't matter. It's not about age. At any age, you can create a platform within your little community. And before you know it, those voices will vibrate through, you know, you can create, and I've seen this, and for me, the COVID-19 has really showed me another way of empowering young people, because just to share, I'm writing a book on women who have risen up to lead during COVID-19. The book is coming out before end of September. I was saying next month, but now, and I'll share with you guys once it comes out. But really, we are profiling girls as young as 12 years who saw a need in their community to say, you know what, we're talking about masks, people don't have masks, let's go and do masks. Or let's go and become, another girl is doing their babysitting for other people, the medical workers, the women who can't come back home, they are babysitting for them. So change begins with, first of all, your mindset, and in your community, and you identify a need and deal with it and speak about it. You bring together a few people, speak to them, and Professor Brooks, you talked about it. Get a few people and talk to them about what you're seeing, but by all means, you need to take action. Don't say, I don't have a global platform or a national platform, you know, because it will begin with individual little things that we do. And before we know it, it can become a global movement.
For me, Rehmah said it all. Like, that's exactly what I was going to say. Start with one voice, it will create a bigger voice. I also have when I had that challenge of the men of the ladies trying to stop them to do the girls with tools, it was a young girl who, the youngest of the program, and she was 15, who noticed the problem. And she came and told us, can you imagine Sarah's father is telling her not to come back? And she told me, like, we need to sit with them. Can we go to door and tell them why it's important for a girl to do the skill sets? So you can imagine that one girl, and all she's doing is going to tell her friend's father that, you see, I'm so small, but I can do mechanics. So what means she can do it too, yeah? And my father's allowed it. She carried her father to go and talk to her friend's father. So the change she made was quite different, because right now we even named the program after her, yeah. The Sarah's Goodman Project, because she's the one who started the conversation. She was so bothered how her father was passionate to get her to do this skill set, and yet the fathers of other girls were refusing her. So like and she's like, but I'm a girl, I'm even smaller than them, but I can do it, and they love it. Why should I be stopped? So that conversation grew on, and now she's our voice for the other girls who are being stopped by the men. So within your own community, within your own capacity, within your own means, when you see something that is not gender, you find it quite a gender bias, use your means to talk about it. You don't have to go a very bigger platform. Malala didn't first go to UN. It started from her saying, no, I need to go to school. And then everybody noticed, yeah? When all of us speak, we'll speak louder. Don't wait to get to that platform. In Uganda, there's a saying, government etuyambe, that government should help us. But we've noticed when we start doing our own, the government gets guilty. With the work that I'm doing now, government is looking for me to try and create more of that. But if I had waited for it and just gone and knocked, and I'm like, you should help these girls, get them in STEM, it wouldn't have worked. But I didn't wait for them. We have worked. So in high school, please start with your own platform. You can be even with Joyce. You can and have a conversation with 4 or 3 girls. This is not right. Let's make it work. So yeah, that's it.
I am losing audio here intermittently, and it's on my end. I'm going to let you close this out so the sound that's behind me is not disruptive.
Sure, yeah, of course. All right, guys. I think we've reached 5:58 p.m., so I think we can pretty much wrap this up. I think it was a really good conversation. In the meantime, I'm also gonna share the results of the poll with all of you. It was a really diverse group. We even had somebody from Australia today, which was amazing because we haven't had someone from Australia in any of the other sessions. So basically, we have almost every. Actually, I'm pretty sure we have every continent represented, which is fantastic, except Antarctica, obviously, but still really great progress. And I think thank you guys for so much for tuning in. You guys asked such wonderful questions, and I think all of us definitely took into account a lot of different factors to empower women. So Miss Kasule and Miss Mayanja, Dr. Brooks, is there anything you guys want to say, I guess, to close it off? Any final words?
For me, I think it's still about, and I posted about this, in Africa, we say, if you walk alone, you go fast. When you take others, you go far. So don't do this global movement alone. You need to take other people. And finally, we also say that the night sky is never lit by one bright star. It's lit by the billions of stars that come together. So we really need to see billions of young people coming together so that we have more voices to take action.
For me, it's as simple as givers gain. When you give back, you'll get back. So don't be afraid to give in any other small capacity, and your voice, no matter how small and tiny, can make a difference. And do not stop chasing your dreams. Your dreams are bigger than they are in your head. Practice and you'll see what I mean. When you start putting them on paper, they are growing. So if you're afraid to start, at least write about them. They'll start shouting and wanting you to start. So don't be afraid to start. Take a stepper. like take a step closer. And while you're starting, also give. It will inspire you to chase your dreams bigger. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for having me here. And I'm glad to have met my role model Rehmah on here. So it's so cool.
No,
What
thank
they
you.
said.
Thank you for having us.
No worries. The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us just a little bit of your amazing insight and really inspiring us young girls to get involved in our communities. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I think we can wrap it up. Thank you guys so much. And stay safe, take care of yourself, and hopefully we can see you guys next week in our next session. But that's all. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye.